Okay, today is a special day for me because today I'm taking a look at the ALORAIR Storm LGR Extreme Dehumidifier. Okay, so we got our instruction manual, and it does say that it is ETL listed, so that's very good. Oh, cool. So you got a nice blue one. Got a little bag with a couple O-rings. It looks like we can just lift this right off. All right, cool. Wow, all right. We got a nice thick cable on here. That's interesting. Shipping bracket, remove and discard. Okay. This is kind of cool. So I can see right inside here, they got a squirrel cage. So this is not just a basic fan. They're actually using a full-on impeller in here. Let's get a quick look at this guy. Okay. That is pretty cool. So it is a big, heavy guy, but it's actually not quite as heavy as I was expecting it to be. I was expecting to have to really struggle to pick this thing up. What's nice about this and this design is it's actually stackable. So you can see we got these rails right here, and that will line up on the bottom. There's kind of a cavity, so if you wanted to get more than one of these things, you could actually stack them up and you wouldn't have to worry about them moving around too much. So what's great about that is if you're working as like a flood repair company or something like that, you can just stack up 3 of these things, take them into a house, put them in 3 different rooms, and then just sit back and count your money. So having easy transportation like that is great. Now this is not a metal case, this is a plastic case, but it's definitely a very heavy duty plastic, so I really like seeing that, and I actually really prefer the plastic over metal because with this, I know I don't have to worry about rust. We got our sensor here on the back, we got our control on the front, we also have a nice big air filter on the back, so I mean with that squirrel cage and with this big airflow, we know this thing's going to be able to push some air. It looks like, yep, I'll just pull that right out the side, so easy replacement, and this is actually, I think they said it was an epoxy coated. Yeah, so inside there, that is actually an epoxy coating on those coils. So that's important because, of course, this is a dehumidifier. It's going to be around water, so corrosion is going to be a factor. But with that epoxy coating, that's going to make this last even longer. The biggest thing is just make sure you're changing your filter regularly. And this one can actually be taken out and washed. So that's great. We got our sensor here on the top, and I was actually taking a look, and they've got a bunch of videos on how to repair these things, which is, in my opinion, a very good thing. The fact that they actually allow you to see the guts of this thing, where most companies try to keep everything a secret, I really like that. That's a fantastic thing, in my opinion. Definitely got some nice rubber feet here on the bottom. So we got our hose here on the side, and I actually got a Velcro strap here to hold that on there, so we don't got to worry about putting that on, and if we do stack something on top of it. And one of the great things about this dehumidifier is that it actually has a pump on the inside, so it can pump this water up 20 feet. So if you're going to put this in a basement, and you want to pump that out of a window, that's not going to be a problem with this unit. Now, here's another really cool thing about this unit. Everything, the whole interface, the power, the water, everything is right here on the front. So if you're putting this in a crawl space or something like that, where you're going to have limited access, you can put this so where all the important stuff is going to be right in the front where you have easy access to it. And on this drain hose, they actually have a quick connect coupler. So we don't have to worry about barbs or hose clamps or anything like that. All we're going to do is we're going to press on this to release it, and it'll literally just clip right in. So when you're done, if you want to pull this hose off and blow some air through it to get all the moisture out, unclipping it isn't going to be an issue. And that's what these O-rings are for. So if you're popping that hose on and off a lot and you're wearing out that O-ring, you can just go ahead and replace that. We got a nice thick cable with good insulation on here, and I was actually checking it, and it's only a 15 Ong, but it only needs to be because this is actually good for 180 pints per day at under 6 amps. So for a dehumidifier, that's insane. That is a very good energy rating. But the other awesome thing about this is you don't even need to have a vent for it. You can literally put it in a closed room, and it's actually designed to be put in a closed room with all the doors closed and everything. And you just plug it in and turn it on, and it does everything. All you have to do is provide a spot for the water to go, and you can just leave this thing and let it run and then clean out that filter every once in a while. You got the display here on the top. And I like simple interfaces, so we just got 4 buttons. So we got power, set, menu, and manual drain. So the power button, of course, is going to turn it on and off. The menu is going to select the menu. This is going to be your set button. It also is going to adjust your humidity level. So if you want the humidity in the area to be set at 50%, you can use this to select that. And then for the manual drain, whenever you're done with this thing, you want to just go ahead and run all the water out of here. So you're going to put in storage, hit that button, and that will pump all the water out. I really like this extra long cable. That is awesome. Okay, so right now it says unit off. So I'll just turn that on. Oh, wow. Yeah, this is pushing out a lot more air than I was expecting. Airflow is always key with a dehumidifier. The more air you got pushing through this thing, the more water it's going to be able to pull out of that air. So it's telling us the temperature, which is a part of that sensor that's in the back. And it is telling us the current humidity level, which is at 42%. So hit menu, job hours. We can reset the job hours. We can reset the life hours. So apparently they already tested this thing. It's been running for about 2 hours, which is not a problem. I prefer having something that they already know works. Oh, that's cool. So it's actually going to tell us what the inlet and the outlet is. So it's bringing in 20 degrees at 38% and it's outputting 20 degrees at 32%. So it's already pulling humidity out of the air. Wi-Fi hotspot, that isn't a part of this machine. Humidistat set point. We can set that to 25, and every time we hit the button, we can increase that by 5%. So I don't know why you would need 80% if you're using a dehumidifier. That's a very wet room. But if we set that to 50, basically this is going to take it. Yeah, I just heard it kick off, so that's actually awesome. So this is going to keep the room at 50%. So if it gets to 50% or above 50%, it's going to reduce that back to 50%. It's going to shut off, so that's going to save you power. Yeah, look at that. It completely shut off. So that's awesome. But if we bring that back down to 25%, let's see how long it takes to turn back on. Okay, so we do have a slight compressor delay, so we're going to wait 80 seconds and then this should kick back on. Okay, so we're back up. So right now we got 37% humidity on the inlet, and it's going to keep on running this thing until we get it down to 25%, and it's going to shut it off. Now, 25% is ridiculous for anybody, so I am going to turn that up back to 50%, which is a lot more reasonable. So we can change the temperature unit from Celsius to Fahrenheit, which is great. That's what I prefer it at. English, coil temp, we got 48 degrees Fahrenheit. And right now we got 0 amps on the compressor because it just shut off. Cool. So I'm going to take this thing to work. I'm going to put it to use. I'm going to see just how well this thing actually works in an actual commercial environment. But even without that, just having something like this in your house can save you just a ton of money if you ever have a problem. Like I had one time in my bathroom, the quarter turn valve on my toilet started leaking and it flooded out my bathroom before I found it. And that was a real problem because of course that destroys the cabinets, the drywall, the baseboard, all the furniture, anything that's going to be in that room. It's just all total. Having something like this in that situation would have saved me not just a lot of time, because of course you got to find somebody that can actually come and fix all that stuff, but also just the money and the expense for all that equipment. So having something like this on hand, even if you're not a professional company, this can save you a lot of money. If you live in a wet environment, you got all that mold and rot and things that always come along with water, not having to deal with that in the long run makes this thing pay for itself many times over. But for right now, let's go ahead and take this thing to work and see how well it actually works. So this is the room I want to test this machine on. So you can see over here we got a reverse osmosis system, we got a bunch of filters, we got our water tank, and then we also got a mixing tank right over here. Now this is not sealed equipment, so it's not really important that the humidity stays down over here, but the big problem, on the other side of the room we got these hydraulic pumps. So that's oil. When water gets in oil, it's bad for the equipment. It's going to make it wear down quicker. It's going to change the characteristics of the hydraulics. And all in all, it's just a bad idea. So if we can get the water out of the air even just a little bit, that'll do a lot for these hydraulic pumps. You can see by all that calcium and buildup and stuff that's all around here, this room has been flooded many times. It's not really a big deal if it gets water on it. So I'm going to go ahead and put some water on here. I'm going to leave this on overnight and see if that can actually dry all that up in a closed room. It says we are at 50%, and that was at 48% when I grabbed the camera, so it's climbing. And I got the GoPro set up here. I'm going to do a time lapse, and we'll let this thing just run throughout the day. I'll come back tomorrow and see what happens. Hopefully, it's not going to just overflow that bucket. It might. So there we go. It definitely dried everything up, and we can't see, it was actually fuller on the bucket. It actually spilled over a little bit, so I kind of cleaned this mess up a little. But yeah, it dried out the whole room. So this little guy works. And we are now at 36% humidity. So we went from 42 to a little bit over 50, and now we're down to 36. But you can see it filled this guy all the way up. And I can tell you it feels very dry in this room, like unnaturally dry. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what that does for those hydraulic pumps in the back, and I'm going to keep this thing in this room. That is a great little dehumidifier.